On Christmas Eve, a rich dad encounters a homeless woman. Her words will haunt him forever. The city was a dazzling landscape, shining bright with the glow of millions of holiday lights. Snowflakes danced in the streetlight beams, each delicate flake a unique wonder. Yet, beneath this festive tapestry, a cold silence loomed, a stillness tinged with secrets. As families hurried from store to store, laughter filling the air, a single shadow lingered amidst the merriment. A homeless woman, perched against a frosty storefront. Her presence felt heavy, as if she carried the weight of unspoken truths. Her ragged clothes shivered in the biting wind, yet her eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, hinting at a depth that seemed almost unearthly. It was as though a force pulled him towards her, a rich father, wrapped in layers of privilege and indifference. Jack, his name whispered in circles of wealth and status, had everything he could ever want, or so he thought. But curiosity danced like the snowflakes around him. What could she possibly know that I don't? He wondered, his chest tightening with a mix of dread and urge. It was the kind of moment that felt like a movie. He wished it would play out differently. But there was no script for what happened next. When he approached her, the world around them faded. She looked up, her gaze piercing through him, and in that instant, a chill crept down his spine. "You think I'm here by choice?" she whispered, her voice trembling yet firm, cracking the cold air. "You're mistaken. I know your secrets, Jack. The ones locked away behind your money and power." His heart raced, and a lump formed in his throat. What could she possibly know? Their gazes locked, and the hushed crowd around them felt like a heavy fog, listening to every word. He glanced around, eyes widened, mouths agape. Whispers floated in the chilling breeze. What is she talking about? Does she really know him? Panic knitted Jack's brow. Who is this woman, and how in the world did she know his name? Did it matter at all if she spoke the truth? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Panic clawed at his chest, and Jack's resolve wavered. What do you mean? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. But her response was a slow shake of her head. You'll find out soon enough. It's already begun. In that moment, the noise of the crowd faded completely, and an eerie calm settled. The laughter that had once surrounded him felt like a haunting melody, beautiful yet tragic. What had begun as an ordinary Christmas Eve was spiraling into something unthinkable. Could she be serious? What truths lay buried beneath his life of luxury that this woman might unearth? Time hung suspended. He took a shaky breath, the air heavy with anticipation, wondering just how this encounter would change him forever. Jack's heart pounded in his chest, fast and erratic like a caged bird. The thrumming background noise of the city had vanished, replaced by the heavy silence that surrounded them. He was aware of the curious gazes on him, the hushed murmurs filling the air like a thick fog. The homeless woman's eyes, dark and knowing, seemed to delve into his past, unearthing memories he preferred to bury. What do you know about me? He demanded, his voice more forceful than he felt. The question hung in the air, thick with both fear and bravado. She leaned forward slightly, her breath steaming in the cold, and whispered, I know about the deals you made, the compromises of your soul. Each word dripped with ominous intent, igniting a flicker of anger mixed with confusion in Jack. How dare she imply he was anything less than a model father, a successful businessman? In a fit of defiance, he retorted, You have no idea what you're talking about. I've worked hard for everything I have. The words felt hollow, echoing in his own mind as he realized they might be lies. "Have you really? Or have you trampled others to climb your way to the top?" she shot back, her tone sharp, piercing through his carefully constructed facade. Jack felt the scrutinizing eyes of bystanders deepen into judgment, a bitter pill he wasn't ready to swallow. The crowd seemed to grow, drawn into their clandestine duel. Faces blurred into shadows, but the woman remained vivid, her intensity unwavering. Every passing moment felt like an eternity, as he wrestled with an inexplicable urge to flee. He could walk away, he could disappear back into his lavish world, but a deep tether held him there, forced him to confront this unsettling puzzle before him. "I'm not afraid of you," Jack spat, trying to reclaim control. But he didn't sound convincing. He felt small against the weight of her piercing gaze. "Yet you tremble," she replied, barely above a whisper, but her words cut through the air like a knife. She paused, and suddenly, the storefront behind her shimmered with a flicker of light, reflecting the chaos inside his mind. Jack swallowed hard. Each second further compelled him to unravel the truth that had started to haunt his dreams. His rise to power had left trails of destruction he'd overlooked, shadows cast by choices he had made while chasing success. The homeless woman stood up slowly, her figure folding into the night around them. "The reckoning has begun, Jack. But heed my warning soon. Everything you relied on to keep those secrets hidden will fall away." With that, she turned and melted into the crowd, leaving him standing amidst a whirlwind of voices and accusing looks. A knot twisted in his gut, her words echoed ominously in his mind. What made her flicker in and out of reality like some haunting specter? Did she carry knowledge that could implode his carefully built empire? As he grasped at the threads of his sanity, trying to reconcile her cryptic message with the life he deconstructed, Jack felt a deep chasm open beneath him. And in that moment, he understood. This was about more than just secrets. It was about survival. His phone buzzed in his pocket, snapping him partially from his trance. The screen lit up with a familiar name, but somehow, it felt like a surge from another world, the realm he was losing. Pulse racing, Jack answered. "Hello? Jack, you want to believe what is happening. You need to come home now." The urgency in his wife's voice twisted in his gut like ice. What had just begun, and how far would it go? With a final glance around the shifting crowd, Jack felt the weight of impending confrontation settle upon his shoulders. What had started as a strange encounter on a cold Christmas Eve was shaping into something much darker. And as he walked away, the specter of the woman loomed large in his mind, whispering truths he hadn't dared to face. What awaited him at home? With every step, Jack felt the shadows creeping closer. Unraveling time, unraveling truth, he barely understood just what it all could cost him. The chill of the air wrapped around Jack like a shroud as he maneuvered through the bustling streets, each step increasing his unease. His mind raced with the weight of the homeless woman's words, echoing in resonance with the haunting urgency in his wife's voice. He shook his head, trying to dispel the last remnants of their confrontation. An accident, he told himself. Nothing to worry about, just the frantic whims of an overactive imagination. But deep down, fear gnawed at him like a rat in a storm tunnel. What if everything she uttered held a kernel of truth? What if he really was on the precipice of losing it all? The bright lights of the city glimmered around him, illuminating faces filled with joy and laughter. Families strolled hand in hand, their spirits buoyed in the festive spirit. And yet, here was Jack, feeling the world crumble brick by brick behind him, while narrowing his sights on home. He drove too fast, the engine roaring beneath him like a wild beast. The tires squealed as he turned the corner, careening toward the house that held the life he cherished, the life he had built painstakingly. But with each passing block, dread twisted tighter in his gut. "Breathe, Jack, it's just a misunderstanding," he muttered to himself, clenching the steering wheel, his knuckles white. He found a parking spot and rushed inside, the familiar doorbell chime echoing hollowly. "Honey, I'm home," he called out, forcing a smile that felt plastered to his face, trying to mimic the warmth that had once defined their sanctuary. Silence greeted him. The tightness in his chest threatened to crush him. "Ella?" Jack shouted, anxiety hitching his breath. He bounded down the hallway, the shadows pooling around him, consuming the cheer he desperately sought to find. As he entered the living room, his heart sank. The decorations were still up, the Christmas tree dazzling with shimmering ornaments. Yet, instead of inviting warmth, the room felt like a crypt. Something was undeniably off. The space seemed cramped with impending doom rather than holiday glee. Then he saw her, his wife, huddled on the couch, her eyes wide with fear, the stark contrast of her pale skin against the dark upholstery. "Ella!" "What happened?" Jack rushed to her side, reaching to touch her trembling hands. "There is something you need to know, Jack," she began, voice shaking. "I don't know how to explain this, but what is it?" He pushed, feeling the air thicken around them, choking him. "Remember the investors you met with last month?" Ella continued, her eyes darting away. "They're not who they say they are. The money, they're connected to something much darker." Jack's stomach dropped, visions of angry men and lost power swirling in his mind. "What are you talking about?" "They seem legitimate." Her words tumbled out in a frantic rush. "They've been asking around, Jack. About you. Your past, the choices you've made." It struck him like a punch. The woman in the street had warned him. The relentless thought spiraled, a web of deceit tightening around his family. "But why now?" Jack barely whispered, his heart racing. "I don't know, but I've seen their names in the news. Something big is happening, and they're planning to expose anyone connected. I can't shake this feeling they're coming for us, for you." The world felt as if it was pitching around him. Every dark choice he'd made flickered across his thoughts, summoning the weight of judgment that had hung on him ever since that fateful night. Suddenly, a loud knock shattered the moment, sending both of them jumping. Jack exchanged a worried glance with Ella, dread pooling deep within him. "Jack, don't answer it," she urged, panic flooding her eyes. But curiosity flared, mixed with something darker, a desire to confront whatever fate awaited him. With shaking hands, he reached for the doorknob, contemplating whether to face his secrets head-on or retreat into the safety of lies. As he cracked open the door, he sensed the cold wind sweeping past, stealing warmth from the room. Standing there in the darkness were three figures. They loomed larger, casting shadows that sprawled across the threshold like approaching storm clouds. "What do you want?" Jack demanded, fighting the tremor in his voice. A low, gravelly voice replied from the front, "We need to talk, Jack. It's time to settle old debts," and as the door swung wider, Jack's heart thudded painfully in his chest, realizing that he might have underestimated the reckoning ahead. What had begun as a gathering storm had morphed into an unstoppable force, and he stood right in its path. Would he find the truth lurking in the shadows, or would he lose everything in the blinding light of discovery? The door creaked slowly, revealing the three figures in stark detail. A flicker of the streetlights highlighted their faces, and Jack recognized the glint of something dangerous in their eyes. He instinctively stepped back, holding Ella closer, the fear surging like electricity through his veins. "Who the hell are you?" he managed to stammer, his voice nearly lost in the chilling wind. "We're here about your investment," the tallest man said. His beard was unkempt, and a jagged scar ran across his cheek. "And your little secrets." A lump formed in Jack's throat. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sure you do," the second man chimed in, shifting his weight impatiently. "We know all about your past, Jack. You thought you could wash it away, start fresh. But blood doesn't wash out easily." Ella's grip on Jack tightened, her eyes pleading. "Maybe we should just know," Jack interrupted, his heart racing. He had never been good at confrontation, but the urgency of her words flooded him with resolve. You can't just barge in here and threaten us. Whatever we've done is in the past. The third man, smaller but wiry, leaned in, a devious smile curling his lips. We don't care about your past if you cooperate. But ignore us, and you'll wish you had never stepped foot in this town again. You can't hide from what you owe. What do you want from us? Ella's voice cracked, echoing Jack's dread. We have a proposition, the tall man said, unfurling a piece of paper, crumpling it in his tight fist. You help us with something, and we'll make sure no one finds out what you've done. Simple as that. Help you with what? Jack asked, heart pounding against his ribcage. He felt trapped, like a mouse in a maze, with no escape in sight. Drugs, Jack, the wiry man interjected, eyes gleaming with thrill. It's all about our little operation. We need someone who knows how to manage money. Your skills will come in handy for us. Jack recoiled, disbelief washing over him. You want me to help you with drugs? Absolutely not. The air felt charged, thick with unspoken threats. Jack glanced at Ella, her face a mask of fear. We're not doing this. This isn't who I am anymore. The bearded man stepped closer, invading their personal space, and Jack instinctively backed away. That doesn't change the reality of your past mistakes, does it? Don't think you can turn your back on us. We'll be watching. The three figures turned to leave, their shadows slinking away into the night, but the unease in the air lingered like decaying leaves. Jack slammed the door shut, locking it with trembling fingers. His heart thudded hard, drowning out the silence of the house. What are we going to do? Ella breathed, panic twisting her features. This isn't just a threat, Jack. They know everything. I don't know, he replied, a desperate tone creeping into his voice. I just wanted to give you a better life, to leave all that behind, but they're not going to let us go, she interrupted. We have to think of something, Jack. We can't wait for them to come back. He took a deep breath, trying to quell the storm rising inside him. Then we find out how deep this rabbit hole goes. Suddenly, a crashing sound from outside startled them both, echoing like a gunshot in the quiet of the night. They rushed to the window, peering through the blinds, and froze. A figure lay motionless in the snow, surrounded by dark shapes almost too familiar. Jack, we need to call the police, Ella urged, but Jack's gaze remained glued to the scene outside, dread creeping through him like ivy. It's him. The one who warned me, that woman on the street. Their eyes locked, the realization settling like bricks on their chests. Do you think this is connected? Ella whispered, fear lacing her voice more than ever before. Before Jack could respond, the heaviness in the air thickened, a creeping sense of inevitability wrapping around them both. Whatever it was that had drawn him back into darkness was spiraling closer. Should he step into the light or confront the darkness head-on? And as his heart thumped louder, Jack prepared for the revelation that lay just beyond the window. Jack swallowed hard, the sweet taste of holiday nostalgia curdling in his throat. The snow outside fell softly, blanketing the streets in an innocent white, yet the scene before him was anything but serene. Ella tugged at his arm, urgency flooding her voice. Jack, we can't just stand here. We need to see if they're okay. The figures in the snow were a dreadfully familiar sight, but how could he bear to look? The woman had been his warning, a faint plea that had haunted his dreams. Could she really be the catalyst for all this chaos? I can't, he muttered. You don't understand what we're dealing with. Ignoring his protest, Ella dashed for the door, heart racing, desperation spilling out of her. We have to check. Please. Jack followed reluctantly, dread anchoring his feet to the ground. He forced himself to breathe. The moment they stepped outside, the cold air sliced through him, sharp and accusing. The darkness stretched endlessly, pulled tight around his chest. As they approached the unmoving figure, Jack's heartbeat thundered so loudly in his ears that he barely registered Ella's ragged breasts beside him. The glow of the street lamp illuminated her face, revealing nothing but resolve. When they finally reached the woman, reality crashed into Jack like a tide, drowning him in regret. She lay there, expression blank, eyes closed against the harshness of the world. "Are you okay?" Ella whispered, squatting beside her. But the woman didn't stir, didn't breathe. "Ella, we need to go," Jack said, feeling the panic clawing its way up through his chest. This was not how he wanted to spend the night. "Jack, we can't leave her like this," Ella snapped, glancing up at him, a fierce fire ignited in her eyes. "We need to get help." The thought of calling the authorities sent a shiver down his spine. They were already being watched. A flicker of images swirled in his mind, tall men lurking, murmurs in the dark, the threat that loomed like a shadow over them. As if sensing his hesitation, Ella grabbed his arm. "What are you afraid of? What if it's too late, and we don't help her?" Jack's athletic build seemed to shrink under the weight of dread. "What do you want me to do? I can't even protect us." An unexpected sound broke through his panic, the slide of a heavy boot on snow. He jerked his head up, heart pounding wildly. Another figure loomed in the shadows behind them, eyes glinting like shards of glass. "What is going on here?" The voice was gravelly and cold, cutting through the night air with a sharp edge. "Who are you?" Jack spat, stepping in front of Ella, shielding her instinctively. "We heard the commotion," the stranger said coolly, a smirk playing on his lips. "Just checking to see if you need assistance." Jack felt a cold rush of anger and fear mix in his veins. "No one asked for help from you," he shot back, clenching his fists. The stranger chuckled darkly, taking a step forward. "You should really consider your options, Jack. It's a dangerous world out here, especially when you start mixing blood with snow." Jack's stomach twisted violently. Did they know? Were they here for the woman? His fists clenched tighter, fighting the urge to bolt back to the safety of their home, away from this nightmare. Ella crouched next to the woman, panic rising in her voice. "We need to help her, please." In that moment, something inside Jack snapped. The thought of letting another innocent life fall victim to their threats felt unbearable. As the dark figure loomed closer, Jack made a choice. "We're going to the hospital," he declared. "And you can't stop us." The stranger's smile vanished, replaced by a smoldering rage. "You don't know what you're getting into, Jack. But you will soon enough." As they turned to lift the woman's unconscious body together, the weight of their decision sank in. Fear and resolve danced razor-edged in the chilled air around them. Jack had opened a door he could never close, and the echoes of their past slunk forward, whispers threading through the winds of dark possibility. What would they face when they crossed that threshold? And how far would they have to go to protect what little hope remained? As the night darkened, Jack felt the pull of fate tightening around him, a noose made of secrets and shadows. They had no idea what awaited them. The weight of the woman felt like a lead blanket in Jack's arms. He and Ella worked together, her small frame straining against the chill as they hefted the unconscious figure through the biting air. Each breath Jack took sliced through the dread that coiled tighter in his chest. "Keep an eye out," he whispered to Ella as they stumbled towards the car parked haphazardly by the curb. The streetlights flickered ominously, casting long, twisted shadows that felt like fingers intent on dragging them into the night. She nodded, scanning the dark corners where eyes might lurk, but Jack could see the tremor in her hands. "I can't believe this is happening," she breathed, almost to herself. "We should have called for help right away, but now—" "Just focus on her," he said tersely. Panic nodded him. The closer they got to the car, the more oppressive the air felt, heavy with warning. In the car, they laid the woman across the back seat, her face pale against the fabric. Jack's heart raced as he fumbled for the ignition, dread curling in his gut. No phone. No police, he reminded Ella, who was about to reach for her phone. "But what if she needs just trust me?" he snapped, his voice harsh. He hated this. Hated the sense of encroaching doom that shadowed them. As the engine roared to life, he risked a glance in the rearview mirror, expecting to see the dark figure looming behind them. But there was nothing. Just an empty street. "Let us go!" Ella urged as snow began to swirl in cascading flurries around them. Jack felt the oppressive normalcy of the scene lap threateningly at the edges of his mind, a cruel reminder that life, for most, had carried on. Turning the wheel sharply, he sped away from the streetlights trailing into the abyss of night. "We've got to get her warm," he murmured, though he couldn't mask the tremor in his voice. The woman stirred slightly, her eyelids fluttering, but then she fell still again. Jack's heart sank. Something was dreadfully wrong. He shot a worried look at Ella, whose eyes widened, reflecting the anxiety that coursed through them both. As they neared the hospital, a creeping thought darted through his mind. Was it truly too late? Were they putting themselves in danger by helping her? Suddenly, a flash of headlights appeared behind them. Jack's pulse quickened. "What the hell?" he muttered, glancing back. "The stranger from the street? No way." "Jack, they're gaining on us!" Ella squeaked, barely audible above the thundering engine. "Hold on!" He slammed the accelerator, his knuckles turning white as he battled with the wheel. Snow crunched beneath the tires, the slick surface making it harder to maintain control. They veered around a corner, and Jack could feel the weight of fear pressing down on him like an anvil. Behind him, the headlights loomed larger, unwavering. He dared a return glance. Two figures sat in the front seat of the pursuing car, their faces obscured, but a dark shift in one of their postures sent a chill racing through him. Ella reached over, her fingers pressing into his arm. "What are we going to do?" "It's okay, we'll outrun them," he shouted, but he wasn't sure if he believed it himself. The road ahead seemed to narrow, the world around them closing in. Out of nowhere, a thud echoed from the back seat. Jack's breath caught in his throat as he turned. The woman's eyes were open, pools of shadow and confusion pinning him down. "You shouldn't have come for me," she rasped. Before Jack could respond, a blinding light flooded the car from behind, illuminating the winter night and engulfing them in a fearsome glare. The pursuing vehicle had caught up. "Jack!" Ella cried out, her voice laced with terror. Everything imploded around them as Jack's heart raced wild with panic. The weight of the night pressed down, loss and danger colliding. What had he gotten into? As the shapes of men emerged from the pursuing vehicle, Jack understood in that instant they weren't seeking the woman. They were coming for him. The door to fate had swung wide, and there was no refuge left. What horrid truth awaited them outside the sanctuary of the car? Would they pay the price for their defiance, or risk losing everything they had fought to protect? The figures approached slowly, boots crunching on the icy ground like the sound of breaking glass. Shadows danced as the headlights held them captive, illuminating harsh features twisted in determination. Jack's heart raced, pounding like a war drum in his chest. He felt an electric jolt of fear surge through him. "What do they want?" Ella whispered, her voice barely above a trembling breath. "I don't know," Jack replied, his throat dry, his mind racing with possibilities. They had barely had time to process what they had done, and now they were already ensnared in a nightmare. The woman in the back seat stirred again, her eyes rolling back as if caught in the grip of a terrible dream. Panic seized Jack. He had to do something, anything, but all that came to mind was the overwhelming urge to flee. The men drew closer, their silhouettes becoming more defined, shrouded in the menacing glow of their headlights. One of them stepped forward, his face partially obscured by a thick scarf, but Jack could see the sharp glimmer of steel in his gloved hand, the unmistakable shape of a knife, reflecting the cold light. "Get out of the car!" the man shouted, his voice a guttural demand that echoed against the stark winter night. The moment sent Jack's heart plummeting into his gut. "No, we're not getting out," Ella retorted, her eyes wide with fear and defiance. "Ella, please," Jack whispered, urgency bubbling in his throat. "Just let her go. Whatever you want, just take it," he called back, trying to project calm, but his voice broke under the pressure. The man laughed, low and menacing. "You think it's about money? You're way off, kid. We don't give a damn about your wallets." Jack swallowed hard. "Then what do you want?" The man stepped closer, and Jack's breathing quickened. "You took something that belongs to us. Now you'll pay the price." Jack's stomach twisted. The words hung in the air like a terrible omen. Who were they? And what had they taken? "Get out!" The man barked again, this time flinging his knife into the air with a flick of his wrist. It landed in the snow just a few feet away, glinting coldly. As if on cue, the woman in the back seat suddenly jolted upright. "You have to go. Now!" she gasped, panic momentarily igniting her eyes. "What?" Jack said, caught off guard. "What do you mean?" "Trust me. They're here for me. You have to drive." She was pleading now, urgency lacing her words. Before Jack could respond, the knife-wielding man charged toward them. Adrenaline pumped through him as he caught a glimpse of the other figure fanning out to surround the car. "Go!" Ella screamed, and without thinking, Jack planted his foot on the gas. The tires screeched against the packed snow, flinging ice and anticipation into the air as they rocketed forward. But the figures leaped aside, their movements almost choreographed in the night. They barely avoided the spinning tires, their intent as clear as the terrified faces in the car. "Where do we go?" Ella cried, her voice thick with fear as the pursuing vehicle switched into motion behind them, unable to shake off their shadows. "What if they catch up?" Jack shot back, breathing too fast. The weight of impending doom chased them. The woman gasped as they weaved through the dark, desolate streets. "They will. They won't stop." "What do you mean?" Jack asked desperately, his eyes darting between the rearview mirror and the road ahead. "Because they know," she began, but before she could finish, a loud bang echoed through the cabin, the sound of something heavy and unforgiving striking their vehicle. Jack's heart dropped. He turned to see a sinister silhouette filling the back window. "What was that?" he shouted, panic taking hold. The woman turned towards him, her haunted eyes locking onto his with a fierce intensity. "They won't stop until they get what they want. You can't escape." The words hummed like a noose around their necks, and Jack felt the cold fingers of fate tighten. What had they stumbled into? And could they truly outrun the repercussions of saving a stranger? Driven by instinct, he made a sharp turn, heading for a narrow alley, hoping against all hope that this might provide them safety. Yet, the question loomed like a dark storm cloud what awaited them at the end of their reckless choice. "Jack, where are we going?" Ella yelled, fear treading close behind. "Somewhere," he gasped, knowing they had to find answers before it was too late. What dark truth lay in wait for them, hidden in the frostbitten shadows? The alley's south walls loomed close and unforgiving as Jack swerved the car into the darkness. The headlights flickered off damp bricks, casting eerie shadows that seemed to dance with malicious intent. Jack felt sweat bead on his forehead despite the freezing air. "Drive faster," Ella urged, her voice rising with despair. "I'm trying," Jack shot back, gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. The woman in the back seat turned her gaze toward the rearview mirror, panic etching lines on her face. "They're right behind us," she cried, her voice trembling. Jack could see the headlights of their pursuers spilling into the alley, gaining on them with terrifying speed. "Why won't they just leave us alone?" Ella exclaimed, her breath coming in sharp bursts. "They want me," the woman said, her eyes wide and wild. "I don't know how they found me, but they want to stop until I'm caught." Jack's mind raced. "Why you? What is the connection?" It's complicated," she gasped, but Jack didn't have time for a lengthy explanation. He skidded around a corner, the tires screeching against the asphalt as he searched for an escape route. He'd never been in a situation like this, and the weight of his choices pressed against him like the cold air outside. Suddenly, a loud thud hit the side of the car, and Jack flinched. "What was that?" "They're throwing something," Ella shouted, panic rising in her voice. Jack risked a glance in the rearview mirror again, and his blood ran cold as he saw one of the figures climbing onto the back of their car. "Hold on," he yelled, slamming on the brakes. The car jerked forward, and the figure lost their balance, tumbling off into the alley. The woman in the back screamed as Jack swerved again to avoid hitting a dumpster. Just then, there was another loud bang, this time on the passenger side. Jack's heart skipped as he saw one of the men from earlier slamming his fist against the window, eyes blazing with fury. "Don't stop. Just keep going," Ella shouted, her voice fading as another blow rocked the car, and Jack felt the entire vehicle shake. "This isn't working." Jack gritted his teeth, fear tightening in his chest. "We need to find a place to hide." He turned onto another side street, hoping to shake them off. But the relentless pursuit continued, a nightmarish echo of the chaos swirling around him. "Where are we going?" the woman pleaded. Jack's mind raced for an answer, slowly spiraling toward desperation. "I don't know. Just somewhere they can't find us." There was a sharp intake of breath from the woman as she scanned their surroundings. There. The abandoned warehouse. Jack followed her gaze, spotting an old, decaying structure looming like a ghost. "Are you sure?" He hesitated. There's no other choice. "Hold on." He drove toward the warehouse, praying the creaky structure would provide the cover they desperately needed. As they neared, the headlights of their pursuers flooded the alley behind them, revealing a swirl of shadows that danced dangerously close. "Get inside. Hurry," he urged as he parked the car, his heart racing. The three of them scrambled out, adrenaline pushing them into the shadowy entrance of the warehouse as Jack locked the door behind them. Inside, darkness swallowed them whole as they panted, hearts racing, blending into the shadows. "What now?" Ella whispered, voice trembling. The woman turned to Jack, anxiety etched into her face. "Now we wait. But we have to be ready. They will come for me." Jack felt the weight of her words, like a heavy stone in his stomach. The echo of footsteps outside sent spikes of panic through him. "Why do they want you?" He pressed again, needing to understand, needing hope. As if the air itself thickened around them, the woman's next words were filled with a grave certainty. "Because I know where the truth lies, and they can't allow it to surface." And just like that, the atmosphere shifted, a palpable tension filling every inch of the cold air. Jack's stomach twisted. What truth? Then, in the thick silence, a sound pierced through the snarling growl of an engine as the figures pulled right up to the entrance. Jack's breath caught. They were not safe yet. "What are they willing to do to silence you?" Jack muttered, dread creeping back in. The woman's eyes locked onto his in the dim light. "More than you can imagine, and the clock is ticking." Outside, footsteps approached, closing in. Jack braced himself as the world around them spiraled into chaos once again. Would they be discovered? And what would happen if they were? The footsteps stopped just outside the warehouse. Jack could feel his heart thudding in his chest, a frantic drumbeat echoing through the tense silence. The woman's face shimmered in the faint light filtering through the cracked windows, her expression a mixture of fear and determination. "Listen, if they get in," she began, but Jack shook his head. "No. "We won't let that happen," he said, though the uncertainty clung to his voice like the dust in the air. Ella squeezed his hand, her grip a reminder that he wasn't alone in this nightmare. The shadows danced again as the door rattled. Jack felt a deep-seated dread rising in him. "They're here," he whispered. The sound of a low voice drifted through the gaps in the wood, muttering, threatening. Jack couldn't make out the words, but the malice wrapped around him like a suffocating blanket. "Get ready," the woman said, her voice steady despite her shaking hands. "If they come in, we need to be quick." Jack nodded, adrenaline sharpening his focus. He glanced around the warehouse, searching for anything that could serve as a weapon, a pipe, a broken plank, anything. His eyes landed on a rusted metal rod jutting out from a pile of old crates. "Cover me," he whispered to Ella and the woman, creeping towards the makeshift weapon. The tension was almost unbearable, each creak of the floorboards beneath him sounding like thunder in the stillness. The door rattled again, and Jack froze, hand outstretched, just inches from his prize. "Let her go, witch!" A deep voice snarled from beyond. "You'll regret this." Jack's blood ran cold. It was them, the very hunters who had chased them down. "Whoever you are, we're not afraid of you." Ella shot back, surprising Jack with her bravado. "Clever girl," came the reply. "But we will find you." With that, a heavy thud resonated as someone kicked the door. It shook, the hinges groaning in protest. Jack's heart raced. "Stay back," he shouted, grasping the metal rod tightly now. It felt like a small comfort in a storm. Another kick, and the door buckled. Jack had seconds to make a choice. He turned back, eyes meeting the woman's. "You ready?" he asked, trying to inject courage into his voice. "More than you know," she breathed, her eyes blazing with something that ignited a fire in Jack. It was the determination to fight against whatever darkness threatened to crash through that door. With one last kick, the door crashed open, splintering wood flying in all directions as the figures emerged from the darkness. Their faces twisted in rage, and Jack swung the metal rod instinctively, striking the first shadow that came through. The man staggered back, surprise flashing across his features. But there were two more at least, and Jack was outnumbered. "Run!" he shouted, adrenaline surging, as he stepped forward to protect the others. Ella grabbed the woman's hand, pulling her away toward the back of the warehouse. Jack held his ground, heart racing, fully aware of the stakes. "Get to safety. I'll hold them back," he yelled, though doubt gnawed at him. Could he really fend off the dangers rushing toward them? With a swift glance, he watched the women dart behind a wall, their silhouettes vanishing into the shadows. Jack turned back, facing the men with defiance. "Come on!" he shouted, fury giving him strength. But the men laughed, confident and cruel. "You think you can save her? You'll both regret this." Before he could answer, they lunged forward, and Jack felt the panic rise like bile in his throat. He swung wildly, adrenaline coursing through him, but the odds were stacking against him. With each punch, each shove, Jack's world narrowed. The warehouse loomed around them, a dark arena for this brutal encounter. And then he heard a crash from the back, a sound he'd hoped to avoid. A cry. "Jack!" Panic exploded in his chest. How long could he keep fighting? The fear of losing them gripped him. The stakes had never felt this high, and Jack realized that the true battle was just beginning. What awaited him beyond this fight? And could he truly protect the secret hidden within the woman who had changed everything? But the moment of despair was eclipsed by a harsh laugh, and the door that had saved them before rattled again, this time with a promise of something far worse than he could imagine. "Get ready. The hunt isn't over." Jack's heart raced as he grappled with the chaos exploding around him. The men were advancing, their eyes filled with contempt, motivated by something darker, something rooted deep in their intentions. He felt a wild sense of urgency. The stakes soared, and he was no longer just fighting for himself. He was fighting for Ella, for the woman whose past was woven into this chaotic night. "Run!" he shouted again, desperation lacing each syllable. He turned to face the figures rushing at him, muscles tensing as he braced himself for the impact. The first man lunged, and the two collided with a crash that reverberated through the warehouse. Jack was outmanned, but he wouldn't go down without a fight. He swung the metal rod he had grabbed, connecting with the man's side, sending him sprawling back. "Let us go!" Ella's voice rang out behind him, urgent and fierce. He could hear the panic in her tone as she attempted to pull the woman further into the shadows. Jack took a fleeting moment to glance back. Fear twisted her features, but also determination. She wouldn't leave him behind. The second man lunged, fingers grasping for Jack, and the darkness morphed into a blur as Jack ducked and pivoted, using every ounce of strength he had. But the brute's strength bore down, like a storm blows raining down against him. Every impact jarred his soul. "Fight back!" the woman shouted from within the shadows, her voice igniting a fire in Jack's veins. Here stood a woman who bore the weight of someone else's disdain, and he would not let them take her away without reckoning. He stepped into the fray, steel rod swinging, clashing against hostile hands. The third man joined the fray, and for a split second, Jack felt the world shrink. His focus narrowed to survival, to protecting the pair hidden behind him, to warding off the even darker specter of failure that lurked in the periphery. But every swing and desperate twist resounded with the crushing awareness that he might not win. The cold sweat beaded down his brow as Jack felt himself getting overwhelmed. Out of nowhere, a hard fist slammed into his jaw, staggering him backward. He hit the cold dirt floor hard, the impact knocking the wind out of his lungs. "Jack!" Ella cried out again, fear slicing through the thick tension that surrounded them. With newfound determination, fueled by the urgency in Ella's voice, Jack forced himself to his knees. He could see the silhouettes of the men edging closer, shadows cloaked in menace. With a heave, he pushed himself back up, feeling the fire inside ignite. "Get away from her!" he shouted, voice raw, pushing aside the agony coursing through him. The battle had become personal. It was no longer just about survival. It was about redemption. In that moment of clarity, he saw the fear reflected in the eyes of his attackers. For all their bravado, they were not invincible. They had come for this woman, not for him. Jack summoned every ounce of courage, adrenaline surging through his limbs, emboldening him to push forward. He lunged at the closest figure, swinging the rod with a newfound ferocity. It connected hard, sending the man crashing against a nearby wall. "Help him!" the woman commanded, her voice strong even from where she stood. Jack glanced back. Ella's visage mirrored determination as she sprang forward, summoning her own strength, grabbing a fallen piece of metal from the ground. She came up beside him, taking her place in the fight as they faced the remaining two men together. In that single moment, Jack felt a surge of hope. They were a unified front, igniting a spirit that charged the shadows around them. The tide began to shift as they fought side by side, swinging against their adversaries, a fire burning brightly in the heart of chaos. The woman, with an air of authoritative presence, called out strategies, urging them to capitalize on every opening. "We have to move towards the exit," she ordered, her eyes blazing with the wrath of truths unspoken. With each potential defeat, the promise of survival became clearer. They could escape this nightmarish chase. They could uncover the truths hidden within their own shadows. As the enemy closed in, their determination cemented, Jack and Ella charged forward, hearts beating in tandem with resentment and hope. The door ahead began to unfurl, a potential escape, freedom dancing on the fringes of their grasp. And like that, it all became a blur. They surged forward together, adrenaline mixing with purpose. The glow of moonlight beckoned them outside, and with every ounce of will, they broke through the darkness once and for all. Emerging into the night, the bitter air biting at their faces, Jack looked back. Shadows loomed within the warehouse, but for now, they had outsmarted fate. Except the night still held its lament, a whispering concern that echoes through his mind, unresolved and heavy. What haunted truths lay just out of reach? What horrors had the woman uncovered that night? As they jumped into the safety of the car, the weight of the unknown hung in the air, like the last snowfall of winter that blanketed the chaos left behind. "Let us go," Jack whispered, glancing at his companions. Whatever shadows clung to their pasts, one thing was crystal clear: they forged ahead together. He still had each person tied to him, each glimmer of hope sparking in their hearts. As they drove into the night, the specter of redemption emerged in the rearview mirror, weaving through the foggy remnants of what once was. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You'll want to be part of what is coming next. You need to show your support now. This is the moment to make it happen. Don't wait even one more second to share.